Let me bring in Brigitte Gabriel. Brigitte, you listen to what Lowkey has to say. He's not alone in this thought. I've heard this from many pro-Palestinian guests on Uncensored in the last year. What is your response?
Welcome back to Z's Political Couch, where we break down the bold debates that others shy away from. Today is the last and final part to a three-part series, and we're diving into the heated clash between Lowkey, a fierce critic of Zionist policies, and PiersMorgan alongside Brigitte Gabriel on Israel's occupation and the Palestinian struggle. Spoiler alert, Lowkey doesn't just pull back. He completely dismantles their arguments, from Israel's double standards to its settlement expansion. This one is unfiltered, raw, and brutally honest, and you don't want to miss pause 3, so let's get right into it.
Well, I want to start with the accusation of the occupation. Israel was minding its own business ever since it existed. It reached out to the Arabic world. It wanted to have peace with the Arabic world. In 1964, when the PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, was founded, the West Bank was in the hands of Jordan. It was Jordan. And Gaza was in the hands of Egypt. It was Egypt. So the PLO was founded in 1964, not because of any occupation. They wanted to drive the Jews into the sea and get rid of every single Jew in the Middle East. Israel tried repeating. The only reason the Palestinians lost in 67 and they lost Gaza and the West Bank is because they preempted an attack against Israel. And over again, Israel reached out to them to make peace with them. In 2000, Ehud Barak offered them 97% of the territories back, and they refused it again and again and again. In 2005, when Israel withdrew out of Gaza, they said, okay, we're going to give you your own state. We're going to give you your own territory. Israel forcibly removed its own people fighting the IDF by force, removed them out of Gaza. Not only to remove the people, they dug out dead Jews' bones from the cemeteries because they knew exactly what the Palestinians are going to do to the cemeteries. So in 2005, when Israel withdrew out of Gaza, there wasn't one Jew alive or dead in Gaza. They turned over the key to them and said, okay, great. Now build your own place. You are independent. I know people that Israel even left them the greenhouses. Israel was exporting 50 million flowers to Europe in 2004 out of Gaza. The greenhouses, the fruits, the vegetables, the flowers. They left them to the Palestinians so the Palestinians can start they can have an industry where they can support themselves. I know a businessman from New York who even raised $14 million to make sure the Palestinians will be able to get paid salaries as they move over and they continue building the greenhouses. And what did the Palestinians do within 24 hours after Israel withdrew? Not only they destroyed every single Jewish synagogue in the area, they destroyed the greenhouses, ripped out the pipe, and even stole the copper out of the pipe. And then they had an election. So in their first election, the first woman elected to the cabinet of Hamas was a woman by the name Nidal, the mother of al-Mukawama, they called her, the mother of the resistance. And she ran on the platform, I killed 3 of my sons, because she had videos of her sons, she dressing them in suicide bombers to go kill Israelis. She said, I already gave up 3 for the cause. I have another 7 to give. That's why she was elected. So that's a democratic election for Hamas. Israel did not put the Palestinians in a prison in Gaza. Hamas put the Palestinians in a prison in Gaza. Gaza could have been turned into Singapore. They had the money. They had more money pouring into the Palestinian territories and still do from all over the world. And what did they do with it? Build a tunnel infrastructure underneath bigger than the subway system in New York instead of helping their people. So those who scream about the occupation, the Palestinians have brought this on themselves again and again and again.
Wow.
Lau is right. Piers kicks things off by giving Brigitte the floor, and what does she do? She dives into the classic Israel's always the victim narrative. Gabriel paints Israel as a nation that's tried time and time again to extend an olive branch while the Palestinians squandered every opportunity. But Lowkey isn't here for it. When Brigitte praises Israel for giving Gaza its freedom in 2005, she conveniently skips over the blockade, the control of resources, and the sheer lack of sovereignty Gaza faces. Now, isn't it ironic how Brigitte calls out the withdrawal a gift to Palestinians while ignoring that Israel still controls Gaza's airspace, water, and electricity? Gift? More like a prison with open skies. Let's be real, this isn't freedom. This is control dressed up as charity.
But do you accept that Palestinians should have the same human rights as the rest of us?
Absolutely, all humans are equal in the eyes of God.
How can they
All
do that?
humans
Okay, but
should
here's the
have
thing,
same
Brigitte.
human rights.
But when it comes to this issue of occupation, I was very struck at the start of the response to October the 7th that very quickly Israel was able to turn on or off the tap of energy, the tap of water, the food supply, etc. That is only achievable if you are effectively occupying another country. Otherwise, you're not able to do it. So Israel has had this control over Gaza and the people that live there, which to me does not afford those people the same human rights as Israelis enjoy. It's inarguable, because if they didn't have that control, they couldn't turn on and off the energy or the water supplies.
But why did Israel get to this point? Remember, in 2005, they gave them everything and they said, we are out. The Israelis even fought among themselves because, some people did not want to move
So don't
out
get me
of
wrong.
Gaza.
I think Hamas squandered all the money they were given, and Hamas has been the enemy of its own people. And when Hamas did what they did on October the 7th, they knew it was immediately sentencing to death thousands of their own people in the process. They knew that, right? So I think Hamas has got to go. I think Netanyahu has to go as well, and his right-wing headbang cabinet members who do speak in a genocidal way. None of this is ever going to lead to peace. But let me ask you, Brigitte, about Lowkey's claims about October the 7th. He says that there was this Hannibal directive. It's been much speculated. Haaretz says that they found evidence there was. The IDF has never admitted there was a Hannibal directive. But it is possible in the fog of war that day that I guess some of the casualties came because of Israeli fire. We don't know that. But Lowkey wants people to believe hundreds and hundreds of people who died that day on the Israeli side were killed by Israel.
I don't believe that. That has not proven. And if I have to choose between believing the Hamas talking point, who control the Ministry of Information, and the Israeli IDF, I would believe the IDF, because I have lived in Israel as a Lebanese. At one point, I had a home in Lebanon, a home in Israel, and my boyfriend who lived in the West Bank at that time. And I worked as a journalist. And knowing how the IDF operates and knowing how the Israeli military operates, they operate by rules. They don't invent information like Hamas does. And when you are in the throes of things like what happened on October 7th, a lot of people do not know a lot of the facts that happened on the ground. But we do know one thing, that Hamas committed such atrocities, and we're so proud filming it and showing it that will give you goosebumps, that a lot of people can get sick, they cannot view it. And I'm shocked that Lowkey hasn't even viewed the footage. You have to view the footage to understand the monstrosity of the crimes that were committed on that day.
Yeah, I mean, I watched this BBC documentary which had all the footage from the music festival. And honestly, Lowkey, it was one of the most sickening 2 hours of my entire life.
Have you been on social media for the past year?
Yes, I have.
You have seen a constant stream of mutilated children. You have seen a constant stream of people being lifted up out of the rubble. How can you even bring into the conversation 2 hours of footage in comparison to 12 months and 77 years of this type of treatment?
So the deaths of
But I have a question for the guest. I would like to ask this question. Now, the organization Act for America, which you represent and are a part of, seems to be quite the patriotic outfit. It's also been criticized widely as Islamophobic. But I have some questions about the finances of your organization. It's funded by the Fairbrook Foundation, which has funded the Central Fund of Israel, the Zionist Organization of America, and also illegal settlements in the West Bank. In addition to that, your organization, Act for America, has been funded by the Becker Foundation, which has funded Christians United for Israel and the Israel Project. In addition to that, your organization was also funded by the Emez Foundation, which funded the Israel Project, the Central Fund of Israel, and the Zionist Organization of America. How, in any way, do you stand for peace when the organization which you front and presumably are employed by is also funded by organizations that are invested in illegal settlement in the West Bank?
When Lowkey jumps in, It's like watching a lion go for the jugular. He doesn't just dismantle Brigitte's argument, he exposes the hypocrisy of Israel's settlement expansion. He comes armed with receipts about US funding for illegal settlements, calling out how settlements violate international law while being bankrolled by the same people funding Brigitte's organization. Piers tries to act neutral but sideswipes Lowkey with "Do you condemn Hamas?", a classic bait and switch tactic. And Lowkey doesn't fall for it. He switches the focus back to Israel's unchecked aggression and question while the world condemns Palestine, resistant, and turns a blind eye to Israel's war crimes. Here's the thing, Piers got no problem grilling Lowkey on Hamas, but where's the same energy when it comes to Israel's bombing campaigns? You can't scream about morality while ignoring one side of the equation. It's this double standard for me.
Actually, my organization, which I run and I'm the founder and chairman, I not only work for it, was founded after September 11th to protect America against the threat of radical Islamic terrorism.
It shares funders. It shares funders with those building illegal settlements in the West Bank.
You already spoke your mind. Now it's my time to answer. My organization was founded to impact policy in the United States to protect the United States from the threat of radical Islamic terrorism coming from Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Hezbollah, or whoever happened the terrorist organization are. We work with Muslims. We have Muslims on our board. We have Muslims who are members. We had a every single conference we always had a keynote speaker who is Muslim that speaks because they care about America.
You know what? I feel like we're getting.
Let me finish.
Brigitte, I feel like we're getting a bit. I feel like we're getting a bit. Look, fascinating though it is the makeup of your business. It's not really the point of what this debate is, right?
Right. It's not the point exactly.
The point I would make, Brigitte, is this. I do think Lowkey has a good point about the settlements, right? What is going on the West Bank with this rapid, aggressive expansion of settlements is completely outrageous. It's illegal. It's wrong. It shouldn't be happening. Why is it happening?
Sorry, you cut out. You mean the settlements in the West Bank?
Yeah, the expansion of settlements on the West Bank in the last year has been completely outrageous.
Well, look, there's a radical wing within Israel that wants to expand the settlements. And the settlements is an issue. I agree with you.
Funded by the same people.
Who are very upset about the settlements.
You're funded by the same organizations.
What does this have to do with the funding with what we're talking about? They are Americans who support the funding of protecting the United States, not Israel. Our work is devoted to protecting the United States.
We have the documents. Let's
get back to the bigger picture.
Please.
So, Brigitte, do you condemn the expansion of the settlements in the last year on the West Bank?
Say that again?
Do you condemn the expansion of the settlements on the West Bank in the past year?
Yes, I do. I think they are going overboard with the settlement.
Okay, good.
I think somebody needs to revisit looking at the settlement and how they are expanding.
Then that's good. Lowkey, do you condemn what Hamas did on October the 7th?
I have a question for you.
Well, hang on.
Based on
you
what
stop
you just
asking
said about
questions for a
settlements.
minute.
I'll answer your question in a second.
She's made an admission that she condemns it.
No, she condemns the expansion of settlements.
Fine. Lowkey.
And these people also fund
Lowkey.
her.
At some point, you are going to... Lowkey, you are going to answer some of my questions.
Which I have done.
Okay, do you condemn what Hamas did?
You've already asked me that.
Not directly, you haven't answered.
I will not condemn people based on Israeli military talking points.
Okay, good.
But I have a question for you. I have a question for you.
You don't condemn mass murder?
Obviously, I condemn mass murder.
You won't condemn it by Hamas?
You're talking about a specific political context in which the information
I'm talking about mass murder of people on October the 7th.
By the Israeli military.
You see, it's just absurd.
So I have a question for you.
I think you lose all credibility when you say that.
I have a question for you. I'm not concerned about whether you think or don't think I have credibility. It's not
I don't come at this from supporting either over the other.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah.
Are you sure about that?
Absolutely sure.
Because I have a question.
What's your question?
Rupert Murdoch, News Corp International, which employed you for several years.
Yes.
Which actually
it employs me now.
It employs you now.
Yeah.
Okay, we're getting to the issue.
Yes. What do you think the issue is? I saw what you tweeted. What does it have to do with me?
Not my tweets. I have a question for you. News Corp International had a charitable arm which funded the Jerusalem Foundation, which builds illegal settlements.
What's it got to do with me?
Illegal settlements in
What's it got
Jerusalem.
to do with me?
Do you condemn Rupert Murdoch?
What's it got to do with me?
Do you condemn Rupert Murdoch?
I'm not talking about Rupert Murdoch.
Do you condemn Rupert Murdoch?
I'm not talking about Rupert Murdoch.
This has never been shown on British media. This is a letter from Netanyahu's political office. And Brigitte may well recognize the handwriting of Benjamin Netanyahu here. It is a list of individuals that Netanyahu considered to be funders of his political campaign. There is a name on this list. The name is Rupert Murdoch. Your employer.
You know what, Lowkey?
It seems he funded Benjamin Netanyahu. That's an issue.
You know what, Lowkey? It's not an issue for me.
It's an issue,
Nobody
and actually it's in the interest of objectivity that you state it.
This is a real mic drop moment. Lowkey pulls out a document tying to Rupert Murdoch, Piers' employer, to illegal settlements. The air in the room changes. Piers fumbles, downplaying the evidence by saying Murdoch never tells him what to say. Classic deflection. If you're backed by settlement money, you're complicit. Period.
Rupert Murdoch can speak for himself. If you've got a problem with him, take it up with him.
I do.
I can tell you categorically, he has never had a single conversation with me about anything I've put on PiersMorgan Uncensored.
Sam kindly resigned from the Times newspaper because of Murdoch's investments and bias towards
you have a
Israel.
problem,
This document, this letter,
you're a rapper,
clearly
right?
shows Benjamin Netanyahu noting Rupert Murdoch, considering him to be a funder of his political campaign.
You're a rapper, yeah?
That's an issue.
You're a rapper. You condemn P. Diddy.
Yes.
Great. You see how easy it is? You take it out of your obsession, which is that you hate Israel so much you can't condemn anything that people do to them?
We see the situation differently.
Not really.
My loyalty is to the people.
I agree with you a lot more. I agree with you a lot more than you realise.
I view myself as loyal to the people of the camps, to the people under the bombs. I do not view myself as loyal to somebody that would end up on a list of potential funders of Benjamin Netanyahu.
I like Rupert Murdoch enormously. I respect him enormously. And if you
won't condemn his funding of Murdoch, of Netanyahu, you won't condemn his funding of Netanyahu.
You don't condemn mass murder.
You don't condemn mass murder.
Oh, I do.
Condemn the Israeli military for mass murdering Israeli captives.
Had you bothered to watch this program for the last year, you would see I've regularly condemned them.
It's not condemnation.
No, but you don't think that what Hamas did was murder, do you? You think it's resistance?
I think the vast majority of humanity perceive asymmetrical warfare by developed militaries against... The vast majority of humanity are post-colonial subjects, Piers. They came out of decolonization. So their conception of these issues is just not the same as yours, unfortunately.
We will have to disagree, but that's fine.
No problem.
All right. It was good to meet you. Thank you for coming in. Brigitte, thank you very much indeed for joining me. I appreciate it too. We'll move on. And listen, this story won't go away. Come back. We'll debate it again.
Thank you.
But remember, I agree with more than you think with what you say.
Okay.
All right. But at some point, you've got to have a little bit of something about you that says that some things that people do to Israel can also be wrong. You don't think so?
I mean, you're misrepresenting my
Am I? Yeah. Can you think of one thing people have done to Israel that's wrong?
I think giving it $8.7 billion in military aid after it's carried out a terrorist attack.
So no attack on Israel has ever been anything but justified?
I think Zionism as a project is unsustainable.
That's not my question.
It's unsustainable.
Can you think of one thing?
It's unsustainable.
Is there one thing that's been done to Israel that you think is wrong?
Not right now. I
Okay.
can't think of that.
Then
I'll let you know.
In its way, Lowkey, that's very illuminating.
No problem.
Good to see you. Thanks.
And that's it for today's breakdown on Z's political couch. Lowkey didn't just push back. He exposed the blatant double standards and funding hypocrisy that keeps the Israel occupation alive. If you're tired of the same mainstream narratives, hit the like button, share this video, and subscribe to Z's Political Couch for more no-holds-barred takes. Let's keep the conversation going in the comments. See you all down below.